All right, here we go. Number 2. All right, number 2. We got
I'm scared.
break these up.
What color are we using?
Right, green. Remember, 5-step method. Okay. So parentheses, variable. Remember, there's no star, right? There's no star, so it's just variable. So this turns into a 3-step method, right?
Plus same.
So this comes down, right? So this is a plus. This tells me that they're the same or different. Because it's plus, they are the same. So they're both plus. Okay? Now, the sum, right? So this is the sum and this is the product. Okay? So it multiplies to be 6, but adds to be 5.
5 and 1.
5 and 1. Okay? So, 5 and 1. Big number first, right? Okay. So that's factored. And now we solve. X equals -5 and -1. Done, hun. Now remember what I did there was x plus 5 equals 0, minus 5 minus 5, x equals -5. And the same thing for the plus 1. Okay? But we should be able to do that by this day's again. Okay? Alright, next.
Can you write out the actual equation again?
What?
Like the actual 5-step method like you did last time?
Yeah, as soon as we actually have to use it. It's not necessary to do it. I found that it's more confusing to write it when I don't need to use it on a 3-stepper, right? But on a 5-stepper, I think it's more appropriate. So we won't use it here, but we will use it here, in other words. Okay? Alright. So again, I need to move this over. So that's x squared plus x minus 20 equals 0. Because our whole key to make it equal to 0. Then, break it up. Parentheses. No star. So it's just x and x. The first sign comes down. That's plus. The second sign tells me if they're the same or different. This is different because it's minus. So different than plus is negative. Okay? Again, what's the product? What's the sum? The product and the sum. The product is 20. What multiplies to be 20 but subtracts to be 1? What multiplies to be 20 and subtracts to be 1? 5 times 4. Okay? So 5 and 4. Remember, big number first. Okay? And then it solves. X equals -5. X equals 4. There's your answer. It's cake. All day. Every day. Eat it up. Love it.
This isn't Matilda.
What? It's true.
Remember when she went to that kid?
Like, how do I forget? My daughter loved Matilda. We watched that movie over and over and over and over. Man, that big lady coming out, throwing that. How's she going to throw a kid over a fence and not get in trouble? I like to know that. I want to do that. All right, so what's here? This is the true 5-step method here. 5-step method. So I'm going to write that right here. Okay? Remember, the first step, parentheses, star, variable. No, that's the second step. It's been a while. The first step is GCF. The second step is parentheses, star, variable. Right? So GCF says, hey, what number goes into each of these? 1. Alright, well that's done. So then we got to do parentheses, star, variable. Parentheses, star, so that's 3t and 3t. Okay? And then I put my pen down. Go to the next step. Step 3, signs.
Forgot my glasses.
Okay? Step 3 is signs. So this sign comes down. And this sign tells me if they're the same or different. If it's minus, they're different. Right? If it's plus, they're the same. It's minus, so they're different. What's different than minus?
Positive.
Positive. So this has to be plus. Okay? Then put the color down. Product and sum. The product is the first times the last. So that's 3 times 2, which is 6. That is your product. Your sum is the middle number. And you always do what we're doing here. So it's minus the sum. So what multiplies to be 6, but subtracts to be 1? 3 and 2. Alright, so 3 and 2. Now, we have to do the star cleanup. Okay? So that was 4, sorry about that, product and sum. Okay? And then there is star clean up, which means I had a star of 3, so I need to pull out a 3 and a 1. Now if it was a star of 6, I'd have to pull out a 6 and a 1, or a 3 and a 2. Okay? So does 3 go into both of these? Yes, then I pull out a 3 and a 1. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 3 once, 1 goes into 3 3 times, 1 goes into 2 twice. Okay? And that is equal to 0. And you solve. T is equal to plus 1 and minus 3 over 2. Now, how did I get 3 over 2? I had 3t plus 2 equals 0. I subtracted 2, right? 3t equals negative 2, divide by 3, divide by 3. I get t is equal to negative 2 over 3. Cake. Eat it up. Nom, 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 nom. Hey, kindness.
Why is this?
Didn't get it. I tried.
I just need my own.
8! Let's do it again. GCF. Well, I got to move the 11. Sorry about that. So minus 11t minus 11t. So I get 9t squared minus 11t plus 2 equals 0. Okay? GCF. What goes into 9, 11, and 2? 1. Right? So move on. Star variable. What's the star? 9. Good. 9t. 9t.
19?
Okay? Alright, next. Signs. Where does this first sign go? Where does it go?
First one.
In the first one. Okay? What does the second sign tell me?
If it's different, the opposite.
Good. If it's the same or different. So what does plus mean? Same. So if they're the same, then this is a plus? Because it's the same as this?
I really don't understand that part.
It's a minus, isn't it?
Yes. Why is it a minus?
Where's it?
Because these two have to be the same, right?
Yeah.
These two have to be the same. So you have to write that down in your notes somehow so that you do understand it. Okay? Got
But
to.
how do you, like, I don't understand.
Well, I'm thinking maybe you're confusing this with this, but
But
I
how do
don't
you
know.
get the first one?
The first one just comes down. So I would write bring it down or comes down.
And then how do you decide? for
This one tells me if these are the same or different. If it's a plus, they're the same. If
But
it's,
that's a minus.
huh? Yeah, so if this is minus, right? And this is a plus, these have to be the same. So this is a minus.
Okay.
Okay? Alright.
I actually still don't get it.
Alright. So the first one comes down.
Yes.
Just comes down.
Yes.
This one says that these are the same or they're different. If it's a plus, same. Some, same. Different, different. So if it's a minus, these are different. So if this were a minus, this would have to be plus.
So it's different from the first one.
Yes. Or it's the same as
But
the
it
first
says-
one.
But you put same on the bottom.
Yeah, it's the same as the first one.
Because it's a plus.
Because it's a plus. Plus means same. Some, same. So it's the same as the first one. The first one is minus, so it's the same. You getting it? A
Yeah.
little bit? Okay. And write it down. So you get it. Write it down in a way that you can get it. Okay? So important. Alright, next. Product and sum. The product is the first number times the last number. So 9 times 2 is 18.
Yeah.
That's your product. Your sum is the middle number. So we need two things that multiply to be 18, but they add, in this case, always that second sign,
9 and 2.
to be 11. So 9 and 2. 9 and 2. 9 and 2. And then, because our star was 9, right? We can take out a 9 and a 1 or a 3 and a 3. We have to decide. So we start with 9 and 1. Does 9 go into here and here?
Yeah.
Yes. So I get to pull out a 9. That means I'm going to pull out a 1. So this becomes t minus 1. This becomes 9t minus 2 equals 0. And then you solve. So x, or t, is equal to 1 and 2 over 9. This is always this number, opposite of this number, over that number. Because you're going to move it, then divide it. Move it, then divide it. Move it, then divide it. 5-step method. Watch this. What? Oh, I'm sick.
Actually,
Go on, baby.
Get some of that! All right.